For the most part, a lot of people will think, oh, content curation, I'll just bring some stuff together from other people's content, and then I'll get people to subscribe to that, and then I won't have to create my own content, right? Think of it as content curation, when it's done well, is actually something completely different.
You said I was a piece of art. You decided to paint my heart.
So the way I like to look at content curation is when you look at Everything is Remix by Kirby.
There are many kinds of fair use, but for creators, this often means you are transforming media into something new. You are repurposing or changing it by adding new expression or new meaning.
Okay, so that was Kirby Ferguson. He's great. You should definitely watch Everything is a Remix because it'll change the way you look at content forever. Music, movies, everything. Everything is a Remix. Definitely watch it. So within that, he talks about fair use and talks about remixing, repurposing. So it's not just taking content and sharing it out there. So many people think content curation is just taking things that you find and sharing it. And although with social media, that can definitely be true, I think at the heart, though, of quality content curation is when you look at fair use and how Kirby describes it in terms of transforming, combining, making something new out of the content that you find. When you start with that idea in mind, you actually serve your audience much better. And in that sense, you actually will produce better content. So it becomes leveraging both content creation and content curation. So in the overview of the whole thing, you have content creation, which is an obvious form of you creating content into your own. And then you have content curation, which is bringing in other people's content. And I think transforming it and mixing it with your own, leveraging both sides of that. And then you have content amplification. That's creating micro content out of anything that you create so that you gather attention before somebody invests their full-time energy into the full thing that you've created. You get their interest, they come in, and they get more. This is really important because if you look at longer content, such as, let's say, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has an awesome podcast. People watch it all the time. And you can go on YouTube and you can watch it. But when you see his episodes, they're really long and there's some golden nuggets in there. But you have to wade through and possibly not really be interested initially in some of the people he brings on until you hear some of their golden nuggets. Well, with GRE clips, they take out these golden nuggets, and then it gets you to look at the full episode.
Concern among some people that we're entering a phase of this country where there's a real possibility of having some sort of a civil unrest, civil war.
That micro content is really important to produce. People don't have a lot of time. And if you get a golden nugget here and there and you bring people in, they're going to watch the full thing. But if you just rely upon one particular thing, like the headline or maybe one image, you might not get as much exposure as you would otherwise. So that's why it's important to have that micro content and you take little pieces and snippets. It's kind of like having a mini trailer for your content. And when you produce those trailers for your content, you get more eyeballs on there because people have a chance to look at it from a different perspective from those golden nuggets that you extract for them. It saves them time and they're more likely to take and repurpose that because that micro content is already packaged in a way that makes it much easier to share on social media. So you can do a lot with curation. And you can curate, of course, and piggyback on some of the more popular people and, you can piggyback on more popular blog posts. You can piggyback on more popular content trends, newsjacking, where you look at the news and you highlight a certain piece of it and then capture that wave somewhat. You can do all those things. But one cool feature that I found that's pretty fun to use is basically highlighting your tribe or highlighting different people that are more at your level, let's say, if you're a smaller content creator. Instead of always highlighting those high-profile people, look and try to highlight people in your tribe. Try to highlight those that are content creators that are also struggling to make it like you, maybe. Go ahead and highlight those, take pieces of their content, and bring out the pieces that are really cool that might have gotten lost in the mix because so many people are just talking about what's popular. But there's still good ideas in the stuff that hasn't gained traction yet. And when you keep at it and you band together with certain content creators, you can all rise together. It's a great way to go about creating content and not just focus on those that already have millions of views. Beyond that, of course, there's all kinds of tools you can use for content creation. A lot of them are going to be Chrome extensions or Firefox extensions. But here's something I'll tell you. that I think you should watch out for, and that is using any of these tools at all. First off, all of them are going to be a bit, if you look, they'll actually tell you before you use them that they're going to be extracting the data from you. They're not necessarily so into privacy. They're going to use all that data. In fact, recently with a Lifehacker article, they had 8 browser extensions that stole data. They reuse, they sell that data, and it's something to be aware of. Each of these extensions track data differently and use sneaky tactics such as waiting until 24 days after installation to begin tracking. The collected data was then sold to any interested buyers. Something to be aware of is just because it's in a Google, let's say Apple or Google marketplace, doesn't mean it's actually going to be something that you should trust. So use those sparingly or not at all, and use only a few tools. It's fun to go through and start using tools, but sometimes, as with any sort of tech, you can get kind of lost in the whole chase for the perfect tool. Find 1 or 2 that work well. I have a list in the description. Check it out there. And there's a list of several different tools you can try. I like Scoop.it. I like just using RSS feeds, Google Alerts, and also going into your Google Analytics is fun to do as well. If you have a lot of content, older content, you can see what's doing well and basically take and curate those together into a new piece and breathe new life into older posts. The more powerful aspect, I think, to content curation is in the transformation that you provide. The golden nuggets that you pull out so other people don't have to spend time doing that. And also the opinion you have, or the spin that you have, the perspective, the creative ideas, transforming it a little bit and making it something fun or informative, entertaining, anything like that, where it's not just something where you just pull in other people's content and then regurgitate it out. And really looking at it more as a quality thing rather than a quantity thing. Content curation, I think, needs to be mixed in with fair use. It's content out there, and you're not just taking the content from other people. You actually want to transform it. At some point, people get tired of having their content just regurgitated by the people. And really, you're not going to come off very authoritative if you just regurgitate other people's content. So the better way to think about content curation is as a way to use and transform, much like you would any other piece of content that you can use in a fair use manner. So that means taking and pulling them together and using the pieces to make a point and making it in an authoritative way, but transforming it either with other content or your own in a way that makes people think differently or provides a different perspective than from the original content that you pulled together. If you look at content curation in this way, I think it satisfies everybody. The people who originally made the content, the people who come and visit it, and also making you look better too, because you're not just copying other people. So if you're thinking about authority, go ahead and take a look in the description, and there'll be a list of tools you can use. Just pick 1 or 2. Don't get overloaded by the tools. And then manage to pull together and practice on a regular basis, pulling in this different content. It's fun. And especially with video, because you can actually pull in visuals that are pretty interesting and get a point across and make your users feel more like it's media rather than just a blog post, let's say. If you're interested in fair use, be sure to subscribe to the next episode where I talk about that more in detail and how to really try to use it in a way that's not going to get you stung. Check it out in the next video. Be sure to subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you.
But you colored it